Afternoon, everyone. I've had a question on one of the YouTube videos about hormones and detoxing the liver and what I do for those. So I thought I'd have a quick chat about that because there's a bit more to it, and that's fine. There's always more to everything. But the big things about the liver are, there's several pathways of the liver, and if they get jammed, they need different nutrients and different things. Now, when it's linked in with the hormones, when you've seen me do the kinesiology, I do 4 different liver tests. And in the kinesiology world, they relate to phase 1, phase 2 liver detoxification. One of the pathways is about metabolizing the hormones, and another one is about metabolizing stress hormones. And if we're not dealing with those properly, then they can be recycled around the body. Now, that can be a problem, especially when it comes these days to so many cancers of the reproductive tract for both men and women. So there's a few things. Firstly, if you think about the liver, the liver's one of the major filters in the body. And the way that I sort of think of the filters is the first one's the pH, so our acid alkalinity. So if our acid alkalinity is out of whack, then our whole body can become more and more and more acidic. So, and your body can create a new homeostasis in relation to a toxic level of acidity. So therefore, there are things that you can do. There's actually there's pee sticks that you can buy to actually check your urinary output with how acidic you are in the morning. And there's also ones that you can buy that you put on your tongue. I don't know what they're called. Let me just have a look, see if I can. Where is it? Oh, there's one. So this is the one that I've got in my dispensary. So that little guy there. So that one gets put onto the tongue, and it tells you what level of acid alkalinity you are on the tongue, and you can also pee on that. So it lets you know. And basically, if your kidneys, your small intestine, and your pancreas are all working well, then you make enough bicarb soda in order to help to realkalize the body. So that's sort of one of those things that I just, when I'm doing long-term work with people, especially when people are post-cancer, the more alkaline we are, the less likelihood we are to keep the terrain that has allowed cancer to thrive. But that can all be, it's all really complicated. But basically, that's the first thing I look at with the filters is the pH. Second thing is then you're going into your digestive tract, then your liver, then your immune system, then your kidneys. So all of them have an impact on detoxification through the body. So if your stomach, small intestine, large intestine aren't working very well, then that can have a real impact, because if you're not releasing enough good hydrochloric acid in the stomach and the pancreas, both of them make hydrochloric acid, then you're not going to be breaking down your proteins properly. So that is a problem. Now, we need lots of greens in order to, that's why our green leafies are so important, because they're really alkalizing. Water, obviously, we've got to keep up our water, because every time we have any of our soft drinks, sugars, grains, those sort of things, they're very acid forming, as is meat protein and animal protein, except animal protein actually makes your body, whereas we don't really make anything except fat out of our grains. They're not those macronutrients that create anything in your system, whereas protein is what we need in order to heal our ligaments, tendons, bones, connective tissue, that sort of thing. So it's, we need good hydrochloric acid level in the gut. So your pH is first, your digestion second. By the time we're getting to the liver, you can imagine by the time your liver's not working properly, you're already dysfunctional somewhere with your pH or your digestion, because the liver, doesn't work on its own. So if your stomach isn't working very well, or your small intestines, that's going to put extra pressure on the liver. So by the time the liver is playing up, and once again with nutrients for the liver, it depends what's going on as to what I recommend. So it's definitely not a one size fit all. Sorry, I'm trying to put this here so I can chat about different things. So there's a product called indole 3 carbinol. I3C, and it is basically a product that helps to break down estrogen. With most, doesn't matter whether we're men or women, if we've got an issue with testosterone or estrogen, it's nearly always estrogen that is actually the problem. With tummy fat can actually convert testosterone into estrogen, and estrogen into either dodgy estrogen or toxic testosterone that makes us cranky. So there's, where is it? So basically, so indole 3-carbinol is something that breaks down the dodgy estrogen so that it's bite-sized, so that it can be metabolized through the liver and released. Things like calcium D-glucarate is another ingredient that helps to take dodgy estrogens out that feed things like cysts and fibroids of the reproductive tract. So when we've got any of that endometriosis, any of that sort of thing, calcium D-glucarate is really important. Well, it's one of the possibilities. Indole 3-carbinol is another one. There's the basic thing you can do for the liver is like silymarin. Silymarin's a herb, St. Mary's thistle, and basically silymarin is just general liver work. If we've got, say, fatty liver, which because we live in our planet, fatty liver is fairly common, and stress and all sorts of things can add to our fatty livers. With the healing of things, I've talked about zeolite before. Products like Toxaprevent help to, so it comes in both capsules and powders, but Toxaprevent contains a zeolite that's bound and it doesn't leave the digestive tract. So if you have got a history of having been in farmlands with lots of pesticides or polluted cities where you feel like those things have really impacted on your health, then getting some zeolites into your well can be an idea. So Toxaprevent is one way of getting those. And of course, you've seen the other zeolite that I recommend all the time. Things like that is a fully purified zeolite that's been heated to 900 degrees, which is important to release all the toxins from it. And that's the baby product, obviously. That one's more expensive per gram than the big one because the big one's bulk. It's great value. But, it's a powder, so some people just like the squirty drops, and it tastes good. So one of my vegan clients, she was actually having the drops during her pregnancy and sort of feeling like she was getting away with something because it was, I'm having my sweet. But it was sweet because of the B12, because B12 actually has quite a specific taste. But anyway, that's all good. So detoxing the estrogens and the testosterone, so there's also, once again, there's these sort of things around the world, but, in Australia, the Metagenics O-Clear, really specific nutrients for helping to clear xenoestrogens. So nearly always when we're estrogen dominant, and that can be men and women, when we're estrogen dominant, it's xenoestrogens that block our receptors. And then there's T-Clear as well. So that's for, once again, it's the people who have that hirsutism, their excess hairiness. For women, who have that hair growing on their chest or on their chins or on their forearms, and they're not really, don't like it. So clearing some of that, there's something called Syndrome X, which is a combination of abdominal fat, fatty liver, inability to lose weight, blood sugar issues, so the potential for diabetes. So Syndrome X is one of those things where getting those xenoestrogens that are turning into testosterone is really important. So that's just a few thoughts on hormonal detoxing. And of course, as you know, I love my Brock shots and the sulforaphane products as well. So things like, the good old Brock shots, because what they do, so there's a few different ones here in Australia. There's the Brock shots, there's the Sulfuraclear from Metagenics, and there's the Enduracell as well. So they are all things. What they do is work on over 200 genes that help your body detox and be less inflamed. So they are amazing. They go back to the core of why we can be storing toxic estrogen, in the body. I've mentioned before, but there's a guy called Dr. Flavio Catagiani, and he was a fat, fair, flabby teenager who wasn't able to lose weight and was tired all the time. And of course, with all of his blood tests, nothing ever showed up. So, excuse me. He ended up becoming like a bit of a Doogie Howser young doctor, and then he became an endocrinologist in Brazil. And he spoke at a congress a few years ago, and it was the first time he'd ever spoken in English. He was really quite dynamic and a wonderful speaker, and he has spent his career so far on trying to work out whether or not testosterone is ever the issue or whether it's really an estrogen issue. And he really found that testosterone, they could not find a way that testosterone causes a problem with people unless it's based on estrogen first. So that was sort of interesting. So basically they found, and you've also probably heard that since 1970, I think it was him who did the study. It might not have been him, but he certainly talked about it. Before 1970, they basically looked at a whole bunch of blood tests with men with testosterone, and they looked at the amount of testosterone in people before 1970 to post 1970. And what they found is that men born since 1970 have half the testosterone of that before 1970, and they're blaming that, or they're suggesting that that's due to xenoestrogens and BPAs and all of these things in our environment. And this is why I think when we can buy organic, and I know a lot of people out there love their genetically modified food, and that's fine. Go for it. I don't care. But if you think about it for a moment, it's the pesticides and herbicides. They are also very strong xenoestrogens, so they can block our receptors on our cell walls, and they can mess with our ability to detox things properly. So xenoestrogens are very strong. They're very strong hormone disruptors. So it's sort of going back to glass where we can, avoiding the plastic where we can. If you have leftovers and you just wrap it in Glad Wrap, you're adding plastic to your next food. If you put things in glass, it's just one step away. You're taking one thing away. When you're drinking your water, drink it out of glass, so make sure that you rather than out of plastic bottles that were never meant to be used more than once. And certainly when plastic is heated, it releases because there's not just BPA. So just because something says BPA doesn't mean squat. There's many of these, so that's bisphenol A, there's many phenols. So B is just one of the alphabet of phenols out there. And back in the 1920s, BPA was used as an estrogenic substance to change women's hormones. So, these things have been around a long time. Scientists have known for a long time the effect they have on us. And yet, we just keep heating our food in them. We just keep wrapping our food in them. We just, because it's a pain. You have to pay attention. You need to look at things. And I think, once again, 2020, the year of awakening, start opening our eyes, paying attention, thinking about how we can live a healthier life and take that pressure off our liver. So with men with hormone imbalances, quite often, if men don't have enough testosterone, then that's a problem as well. And once again, that can be because of all the reasons that I've been chatting about with women. But basically with men, there are things like tribulus is a herb that is very well known to help boost testosterone levels. So Tribulus synergy has got Tribulus, Damiana, horny goatweed. Yeah, I know, it's ironic. And then some zinc. And in the past, I've actually used zinc alone to help with fertility with men. So where men have got low sperm motility and numbers. And, if you get, say, 50 milligrams of a really great form of zinc, because there's some dodgy forms of zinc out there. You don't want to do this with zinc sulfate. You'll be feeling sick every day. But if you get a really good dose of zinc, say citrate or another good form, 3 times a day into your body, of course the sperm are going to increase in number and quality. So, there are these things that we can do that can have a really big impact. For men, DHA in fish oils is also really important for the mitochondrial quality of the sperm. What did I hear about the mitochondria recently? Okay, this is going to piss people off. Sorry, I'm just going to say it. But there's an ingredient in in the vaccines. I can't remember there's 3 letters, but basically it destroys the mitochondria in sperm. So, these poor 1 in 5 couples out there who are having fertility issues, unfortunately, there's so much stuff that we're being given that is not necessarily for our best. So that's all I have to say about that, said Forrest Gump. Okay, so so I've got a client arriving any second, so I thought I'd throw that out there. Have a great day. Bye, guys.